Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We are going to start at 9 o'clock, so I'm just kind of waiting for the timer. Kristi, who is coming straight from another coaching call, so she could be on at like 9:01 or something like that. But we're gonna get started here shortly. Thank you all very much for jumping on. And just to confirm, we are recording this training. We will be posting it on YouTube, as well as emailing it out to everyone who registered and attended. And we're going to be flying through a ton of content. You're probably going to need the recording to go back. And when you're ready to say, all right, I want to start implementing some of these ideas and strategies, uh, unless you're Mike Rennick, you might say, hey, I need to jump in and watch that again. They went so fast through that. So we're going to probably bombard everyone with a bunch of ideas and things and how you can use Claude to improve your CRM. And so yeah, rest assured it is recorded, and we're more than happy for everyone to be sharing it with your, friends, teams, coworkers. If you're a team and you've got an operations manager or, anything like that, you're going to want them to watch this. Oh, all right. Christy is right on time. Christy, I just let everyone know that we were going to be starting right on time, and I assured everyone that we are recording the meeting so that we'll be able to go back and rewatch some of this stuff. But other than that, I had a few people chime in on where they are tuning in from.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the slides. So tell me, where are we? Where is everybody coming from? I mean, we got Texas,
And
Austin, Texas, because I'm just getting the chat going right now.
yeah, we've got Scottsdale, we got
Scottsdale.
Vegas, we got Gilbert, Arizona, we got
Nice.
Austin, Chicago, Woodlands, Denver, Washington, Buckeye, wow, Kansas City, Bay Area, Madison, Wisconsin. Like what we
Okay.
got, we got activity coming in from all over the country.
Okay, excellent. Well, I've got my slides, so let me share my screen and turn on our slideshow so we can get ready to go. Okay, so we're so excited. In fact, our kids are like sick and tired of us because we have been nonstop talking about Claude and talking about the CRM and all of the amazing things they can do. So I recognized a lot of the names from the chat. So I appreciate our friends being here. There's several names that I don't know. So if you don't know Merrill and myself, husband and wife team, real estate agents, Tom Ferry coaches, passionate about technology, we have 8 kids. We've been married, coming on 21 years, and we are a glutton for punishment because we were just sitting in Flagstaff last weekend, charging our car when we decided we were going to do this webinar because we didn't want to sit on this information. Like we wanted to get it out to you guys because we're so excited and so passionate about what we're seeing. So here's how it came up. Meryl and I coach a lot of people. I have roughly around 40 coaching clients, but that's like well over 500 agents between brokerages and teams. I know Meryl's got somewhere around 40 or so coaching clients. So every single week we are working with real estate agents across the nation, across North America, and we see some patterns come up a lot. One is decision fatigue. Put a one in the chat if you've ever opened up your CRM and thought, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to get started, right? Like there's so much to do. I don't even know where to get started. There's a lot of ones, right? But then when we look at your schedule, a lot of you guys are out in the field doing what you're supposed to be doing, going on appointments, right? So then when you do come back to your office and you go back into your CRM, you're like, oh my God, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. I know it's happened to Meryl, but there's been times when I get into my CRM and it's like, you have 27,000 past due reminders. Like, does that ever happen to you where now you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this because it's so unorganized. It's so, Maria says, yes, right? And so then what does that mean is that you're missing opportunity. Your money's going out the window. We know that you guys need help. When we started playing with this technology, that's where we started to get excited and we said, okay, it's go time. So that's what we're here to do. So today we want to invite you to just be super curious. We want you to think, what if? What could happen if, right? We're going to teach you the technology, how it works. We're going to give you the blueprints. Now, one thing that I want to stress is that of the, I don't even know, 166 of you guys are on here currently. Of the 166, I'm positive that not all of us have the same setup. Right? Like you might be using a different CRM, you might be using a different AI, and all of these different things. So when we say we're going to give you the blueprints, we are going to tell you what we did and how we did it. You may have to tweak it to fit KV Core, to fit Bold Trail, to fit Boomtown, to fit Follow Up Boss in whatever CRM and system you're in. But then our goal is that you will go out and you will build your own. And we want to be a resource for you. So Merrill, why don't you get us started and let's talk about the technology.
Yeah, so with the technology, we're primarily focusing today on Claude. I'll get into all the different layers in a second. We are going to be talking about Google Chrome and Chrome extensions, and we're also going to be talking about the cost of being able to use Claude and Claude's tokens. So yeah, go ahead and move forward to the next slide. So this, again, we're going to send out the slides, so you do not need to know everything that's on this slide. This is kind of your cheat sheet, but you may be already overwhelmed with, like, you've heard of Claude Code, and you've heard of Claude Cowork, and you've heard of Claude Artifacts, and you've heard of Claude Skills, and they all do like a slightly different thing. They all have kind of their own different lanes. So just really, really fast. Claude, is an LLM AI. You can chat with it, much like you can Chat GPT. So that part's easy. All free. All LLMs pretty much can do that. Then there's a couple other things, projects and artifacts. That allow you to get it to do work within different parameters and artifacts where you can get it to create little interactive dashboards and things like that. Skills, we're not going to be spending a ton of time on today. We're going to touch on it a little bit, but if you're a member of the AI Marketing Academy with Jason Pantana, the last month's AI training was all about skills, and we just don't have time to teach it all today, but it will greatly enhance your ability to perform some of the tasks that we're doing today. So really helpful. Skills is sort of like you're teaching Claude how to perform a task over and over again and help it to be more efficient. Where we're going to be spending the majority of our time today, though, is on Claude Cowork. Claude Cowork is the platform that allows you to let Claude literally take control of your browser and perform agentic tasks for you inside of your browser. It can actually click buttons, go to different websites, look at things, read reports, compile information. And we're going to be spending the majority of our time there. And I do want to say you do need a pro membership of Claude for this section. Can we go to the next slide, please? So you do need a pro membership of Claude. And I know what you might already be thinking. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Another subscription, right? Like, I know, I get it. Like Netflix, and at first it was just Netflix, right? And now we have 800,000 subscriptions.
Paramount and
But I
Hulu and
promise you, if you keep an open mind and watch this, you will be like, oh my gosh, like you could fire, well, I'm sorry, I don't want you to have to fire people, but you could probably replace assistants. You could be way more efficient. You could earn way more money. I promise you, if you really use this, you are going to be stepping over dollars to get to dimes if you think you're going to be like saving money by not spending the $20 a month for using Claude in your Chrome. And then Kristi, I think this is where I was going to switch to sharing
oh,
my screen so that I
okay.
can just give like a really quick demo kind of a lot of the workflow blueprints that we're going to be sharing with you today are, it takes Claude time to do. It takes it, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes to complete a task. So we're not able to, display all of that live. So we're kind of sharing a lot of screenshots and different things like that. But I just really quickly kind of want to show you how it works. So first thing, super important, you must be using Google Chrome. And I'm sorry, I meant to have this link pulled up ahead of time. You must be using Chrome as your browser, and you're going to need the Google Chrome extension called Claude. Oh, great. Now, I literally searched it this morning with Kristi on our practice run, and it showed up as the very first one, and now it is giving me troubles.
There
Here
we
it is.
go.
Okay, so it's this big orange one with the Claude logo on this. You need this installed into your Chrome browser. Once you add an extension into your Chrome browser, it'll show up under these plugins that you can add right here. And if you want to make sure it shows up right at the top, you can push this pin, and then you won't even have to click the puzzle piece. It'll be right there for you. So when you use it, I'm just going to show you. It opens up a sidebar over here inside of your browser, and you can ask it to do things for you, and it can actually do them inside of your browser. So I'm going to just demonstrate a sample prompt, and there's a couple of like important things for you to be aware of when you ask it to do something. So I'm going to say, and this is obviously just an email inviting people to attend our webinar that we're in right now. So this isn't typically an email you would respond to, but I'm just trying to demo a very simple task. Draft a reply to this email inside of my email account saying I'm excited. Oh, you don't even have to worry about spelling, by the way. Saying I'm excited to attend and elaborate. Okay. And in a second, you're going to see that it is, it's going to work, and it's going to take it way longer to do than you would be able to like just do this task yourself, because this is a really simple task. But in a minute, we're going to start asking it to do more complex things. Okay. But I'm not clicking anything, see, hands free, and it is opened up a draft reply, and it is figuring out what it wants to say, and it's going to type a response. What I really want you to pay attention to is this hourglass up here. You do not need to stay in this while it works. Okay, you can go into your CRM, you can go into another email inbox, and you can reply to things in here. You do not need to stay in here and watch it do what it's doing. You can just go to another tab and work on other things. So sometimes when you give it a task, it might take it 15 or 20 minutes. Don't just sit there and watch it. That's a huge waste of time. Set it to the task, then go into your CRM and make some phone calls. Go into your email and work on emails, or do an equity review. Go do other things while it's working in the background. But as soon as it's done with its response, it's going to change this hourglass up here to a green check mark when it's done doing the tasks that I've asked it to. So I don't need to keep coming back and checking on it, right? I can just be in other tabs doing what I want to do. And then as soon as I see that hourglass has changed to a green check mark, that is when I will go
Hey,
back
Merrill,
to
will
that
you,
tab.
someone's asking about which Chrome extension. Can you grab the link and put it in the chat? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Good call.
so it is, when I've searched it in the Chrome store, I couldn't find it. So actually, I just went to Claude.ai and said in my chat, I was like, hey, I need the extension, and it gave me the link to the Chrome store. But Meryl will go ahead and put it in there for you guys. And the Chrome extension is free, and you are going to use that. Now, while I'm pulling up the slides again, a really practical example of what Meryl just showed you guys of how we're using Claude in Chrome is we Meryl and I were getting ready to make dinner for the kids, and one of our clients who's very analytical sent a super long email asking a bunch of questions about a property. And Meryl and we just looked at each other and we're like, I wonder if Claude could handle this. So we said to Claude, go into the MLS and find the answers to Hoger's question and draft the response. And with like 90% accuracy, like we went and made dinner with the kids, came back, Claude had answered all the questions. The only questions Claude couldn't answer is because they weren't in the MLS and they had to call the agent. So what he just showed you of responding to our email, that was just to show you how it works. But we're actually using Claude to respond to complicated emails that take a lot of like research and things like that. So, okay, so that's Claude and Chrome.
And by the way, on that sample email one that I was just demoing you, it literally just finished. Hi, Kristi and Merrill. Thanks so much for the reminder. I'm genuinely excited to attend the webinar tomorrow. And timing couldn't be better. I blah, 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 blah. Whole email drafted in my inbox, ready to send. And it's now done. And I've got a little green check mark in my browser saying that the task is done. So that's how I know I need to come back to it. Now, I do need to just quickly touch on Claude tokens. So It's just Claude's currency. Okay. Every time you're asking, all the AIs have a form of currency. Claude's is called tokens. When you ask it to do certain things, it uses a certain number of tokens. And the more complex and time consuming, the more words you use, the more tokens that task is going to take. So on the $20 a month plan, you could be working on a task and it'd be like, oh, sorry, you ran out of tokens. Come back in 4 hours. So that's when your tokens will reset. And sometimes that can be, a little bit annoying. So we're going to show you some ways to try and make your tasks that you're going to give Claude to be a little bit more efficient so it doesn't use as many tokens. With that said, if we can go to the next slide, if you guys know who Jensen Huang is, the CEO of NVIDIA, he said that he would be deeply alarmed if his $500,000 a year software engineer didn't consume at least $250,000 worth of tokens. Okay. So please just, I get it. I know it's so expensive, like all the things we have to pay for in this business, but I promise you, like, again, you're going to come out ahead if you actually use extra tokens. I can tell you that both Christy and I upgraded to the $100 a month plan, and I feel like we're saving money. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so that's the boring stuff. That's why Merrill did all that. If you know, Merrill is the super technical and I just bring the glitter and the fun. But now we're going to get into the juicy part. Everything that we're going to show you now, by the way, none of this is hypothetical. Okay, I think it's really important for you guys to know we have tested and used everything and it works. So none of this is hypothetical. You could do this. These are things that we are currently doing. We're going to call them blueprints. And the reason I want to stress this is because this is something that I see a lot of times what happens is I'll explain something to a coaching client or to a friend, a colleague, a peer, and they'll say, "Yeah, well, I did that once and it didn't work." I'm like, I know. Sometimes you have to finesse it. You're gonna have to. And that someone on here said they're using Real Geeks, right? I don't use Real Geeks, so we might have to change the prompt slightly and the instructions slightly to get it to work in a Real Geeks environment. But when I say that these things work, we are, by the way, just scratching the surface of what you can do. So the next 5 prompts, and they're so stupid simple prompts, you guys are going to laugh at this. But then I'm going to show you the results. It all started because I had a client not be able to come to a call. So I found myself ready for this coaching call, and the client wasn't there. And I just got curious. I opened up the CRM and I opened up Claude and I said, find my 5 hottest leads right now. That's all I told it. So again, clicked on my Chrome extension. Now Claude, because it's using my web browser, went in and navigated. It went through my tasks. It went through the activities that my clients were doing. And it said, here's your 5. I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. But then after I was done with that, I was a little bit addicted. I was like, oh, well, maybe you should go find people that I haven't spoken to in 30 days, right? Like, I know we've all been there, right? Like, I know I should have called that person, but I've been so busy. I've been on so many appointments, I didn't. So Claude did the same thing. It went in and it found people who'd fallen through the cracks. Now, I actually did this with another client. And one of the examples I'll give you is that Claude found a lead that was on a campaign of bad phone number, right? So the agent called the lead. The phone number was bad. They put a tag on there, bad phone number. That activated a campaign. Well, the lead responded and said, oh, my phone number is this. And that was over 2 weeks ago. So Claude said, oh, by the way, this lead responded and gave you their phone number and you guys haven't done anything with it. So it can find missed opportunities. Then I was like, wow, you know what? Could it read my inbox? Could it go in and see all the people who've responded to text messages, all the people who've responded to emails, and then start drafting responses and even help me prioritize which ones I should do based on urgency? 100%, right? So someone said, do I need to be logged in to all of my vendors using Google? How does Claude know all of my passwords? Do you want to take that, Merrill?
Well, it's using your Chrome, and chances are Chrome has a lot of your passwords stored, so it can actually sign in as long as your password is stored. But it is a little more helpful if you're giving it a prompt, if you're asking it to do things that, hey, I need you to go to my email for this, I need you to go to my CM for that, and then I need you to go into the tax records and then the MLS. Like if you're trying to give it something where you want it to use a bunch of websites, it does perform better if you already have those tabs open in your browser.
Yeah, Claude is not going to log into something for you. That's one of the security features. So like it's not going to go log into Bank of America for me. Right? It's not going to log into Facebook for you. And we're going to show you some social media applications here and some of our other blueprints. So yes, it knows your passwords because you probably have them stored. But if you're not logged in, so for instance, MLS, it's not going to log into my MLS, but if I'm already logged in to my MLS, it can go into my MLS and do things for me. So that's just to give you a little sneak peek. Merrill and I are working on some do an equity review for me skills for Claude. We're not going to touch on that today, but that's coming. So we went through tasks, we went through database, like people that we should reactivate. So here's what it looks like. This was my actual just I opened up a video recording and I said, find my 5 hottest leads. And here's what it gave me. So here was the first one. This was kind of a no-brainer because this was a brand new lead. I've redacted the names of the homes and things like that, but it said, yeah, well, this person's only 4 hours ago and they are interested in this property. You should respond like this and make sure to get this deal going, right? So, hey, Omar, I wanted to follow up. Da, 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 da. So this one wasn't too impressive because it was pretty easy. But this was a lead. This lead, Austin, the note was that they were working with a different agent. So they came into an open house. They said that they were working with a different agent, but then they submitted an additional inquiry on this particular listing. So they were flagged. At this point, Claude says, hey, you should respond. Hi, Austin. I saw you stop by the house on X in Richmond today. Great home. I'd love to connect and find a little bit more about what you're looking for. Are you working with an agent yet? Would you be open to a quick call this week to chat about the area and what's available in your price range? By the way, I didn't give Claude any, scripting advice or anything like that. You could say in the style of Phil M. Jones or in the style of Chris Voss or right, like you can give it some of these things. But the point I want to make is it found my top 10 opportunities by sense of urgency, also by like what they were doing, and then gave me suggestions. After it gave me these, it says, do you want me to go ahead and send these for you? And I was like, yes, please. Like, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. So again, when you go back and watch this on repeat, all I asked it to do was to find my top opportunities. Like, get me an appointment today, Claude. Like, go into my CRM and find me an appointment today.
Okay, so for this next one, I don't know if you guys, how many of you use like the leaderboards or some of like the tracking metrics, the reports that you can get from your CRM. But sometimes you go in there and they don't quite, the default report that it provides isn't quite what you want or the way that you want it. So I was on a call with a team leader and I really wanted them to roll out like a team leaderboard so we can get better buy-in, get everyone using the CRM and like turn it into a competition. Like let's run a contest. Who can set the most appointments for April or like whatever it is. But the default leaderboard that the CRM offered, we didn't like because long story short, it was counting a bunch of extra points for emails and he did a bunch of kind of auto emailing and it was throwing off the actual point system that the agents were really earning. And so I just put in this exact prompt. Again, what I really want to iterate here, what I really want to drive home is you do not need like this 87 page Gord. Let it figure it out. Like just tell it what you want and give it control of your CRM and it will go in and it'll find what it needs. So this was the actual prompt. I'd like you to extract this leaderboard to a similarly colorful display spreadsheet that we can screenshot and send out to the team on a regular basis. We don't like the points tracking system, so we want to make our own. Open a Google Sheet in my Google Drive and name it Team Leaderboard Test. And assign the points as 1 point per text, 2 points per call attempts, 5 points per conversation, 20 points per appointment. That was the entire prompt, and then this is what it built for us. Kristi, can you click the slide? There we go. Thank you. So this is the leaderboard that it created, color-coded and beautiful, and a gold, silver, and bronze position, and it literally just went through and calculated. Now you might be looking at this and be like, well, but I don't like that leaderboard. I want well, perfect. Then tell Claude what you want. Say, go into this. report, pull the leaderboard and change it to fit my needs. So now you could turn this also into a task and say, do this every Monday. Every Monday at 8 a.m., I want to do my team leaderboard updated and my Google Drive updated so that I can just run in, grab a screenshot or text it out to my team. Or if you're using Slack or Google Chats, or like if you've got a platform where you're already communicating with your team, you can tell Claude, and when you're done making the leaderboard, screenshot it and send it out to the whole team.
Yeah. So Alejandra asked a really good question. She said, can it help with Instagram DMs? She said auto DMs. Rambo said no to auto DMs, and that is correct. You can connect ManyChat and Claude to customize your DMs, and that's something that I'm actually in the process right now with Kelsey on working on. But to your point, I'm very curious about this, Alejandra. I have not tried. So you say you have hundreds of DMs that you're curious if Claude can go in and help you prioritize. If I were to attack this, so this is a perfect example of exactly what I would do in this scenario. I'm going to just key you into my thinking. I know the easiest place for me to see all my messages would be in the Meta Business Suite, right? So if you're familiar with Instagram and Facebook, they're governed by Meta. There's a business tool that allows you to see all your read messages, unread messages. That's where I personally would go versus just like logging in to Instagram on my desktop and doing that. So I'd go into my Meta and then I would open up my Claude in Chrome and I would just tell it, out of all of these unread messages, can you surface the top opportunities and the most urgent ones I should reply to? And then see what it does, because and I actually think I'm going to try this. I don't have a lot of unread messages or any that I know of, but I'm going to test it. That's what I would do. And then Alejandra, you can let us know, like ping me, send me a message or send me an email, because I'm super curious what it can do for that. So thank you guys. I love this. This is exactly the kind of fun that Meryl and I've been having all week and being so jazzed. Um, so let's talk about missed opportunities, right? So this is the exact prompt. And again, it's not even a prompt. I was just having a discussion. I was like, you know what? I want you to identify leads that are in my CRM that should be getting called. Like I'm going to shake my finger, should be getting called, but they haven't, right? Or maybe they haven't been called as often as they should. Why don't you go ahead and identify the top 10 missed opportunities? Now, I said top 10 because when you have, 35,000 people in your database, that could take a long time. So I just kind of wanted to like narrow it down. But Merrill just said something, he said, this is something you could schedule it to do every single week. So imagine, Tony Stark and Claude opens up and it's like, hey, Kristi, here's your top 10, your top 20 opportunities for this week. Prioritize calling these past clients, these hot leads, these people have returned. That's what we're doing here, right? Like that's exactly what we're doing here. So let's see what Claude came up with. So again, here's the screenshot um, where it says, okay, let's go ahead and get to work. It went first into the total lead count by agent activity. So it went into the reporting feature. Then from reporting, it went over to the call log. Because again, if you look at my prompt, I wanted to know like which agents haven't been calling like they should be. Help me find those leads and those opportunities. And then here's what it did. And I'm only going to show you a couple of these. So the first one, it says, hey, your number one deal, your number one is this guy named Neil. He's staged 6 months cold. His price point is 1.5. Here's the problem. By the way, if you are sensitive, get over it, because Claude is going to tell you exactly how it is. Claude does not glaze you like ChatGPT, right? Like, can you give me a thumbs up if you've ever been glazed like ChatGPT's like, oh, Kristi, you're so smart. That's such a great idea. You're so hardworking. Yeah, Claude, look what Claude says. Claude says, the problem is, Kristi, you've had 0 calls in 7 months. Like, what the heck, right? So he says he last called in August, but here's the issue. He just returned to the site after 23 days, and he's looking at $1 million homes. So why does this matter? You got an opportunity. Here's your script. Neil, I saw you looking at some homes in Westbrook. Are you still 6 to 8 months out, or has your timeline moved? Right? And it'll help you fire these. So we've got another one. This one says, hey, here's an opportunity. This is a brand new lead, 0 calls made. And here's why it matters. Here's the script that you're going to use. It gave another one. I actually really like this one because this is the same thing. Like, how many of you guys ever do an open house, or you get an opportunity and they say, oh, we already have an agent, right? We already have an agent. So same thing. Shauna said they were working with another agent. So there was 0 follow-up calls. Remember, my thing was like, who's not getting enough calls? These are deals falling through the crack, whether it's you or someone on your team or someone that you work with. So 0 follow-up calls. They've been to the website, 12 days ago. Then they returned after 227 days. Wait, what? So this lead came in well over 227 days ago, said they were working with an agent. The agent stops calling, and now they just came back onto the website. A task was created by automation, right? And nobody's called, right? So this is money in your database. You just need to be able to see it. So, hey, Shauna, I noticed you've been back browsing in Rincon. I have some listings that just came up that match exactly what you told us you were looking for. The point being is it is going to surface these opportunities for you. The end result is it gave a quick shout out. It says, here's the summary. Here's, exactly your urgent tasks. Here's a high priority, some medium ones that you should look at. And this is how I would attack the day. This stuff is so genius. When I talked about getting rid of decision fatigue and feeling overwhelmed, one of my clients has over 100,000 people in his database. Wouldn't it be great if it told you exactly who you should call and exactly what to say so that you could surface? Now, in all fairness, while Claude was doing this, we didn't watch it. We went and made a phone call, right? Like, we did something else. You're not going to sit there and watch Claude do this. You're going to let it do it. When it's done, you're going to do what it says. But in the meantime, pick up the phone, close the deal, right?
Yeah, and we're getting a couple of questions about what CRM do we use? And oh, well, you keep showing follow-up boss examples. What if we use Lofty, stuff like that? You guys have promised. Claude can take control of your browser, can do these types of tasks in any CRM. Okay, so it's not about what CRM we use or what CRM anyone else use. You know, open up Claude and Lofty, or Claude and Bold Trail, or Claude and whatever you use, and say, find my top 10 missed opportunities, right? And
Yeah.
let it go do its thing. All right.
So Patricia, yes. So again, just to be clear, what we're showing Claude in Chrome, and you do have to be on the $20 a month plan to be able to get Claude to go into your CRM like the way that we're showing. So yes, you do have to have the pro subscription, which is like $20 a month.
Okay, you guys, I'm beyond excited about this one. Conversion, lead conversion. Work with a number of teams who pay for leads, whether that be from Zillow or, well, Zillow already doesn't. I mean, if you're Flex, right, they're already tracking your conversion at an extremely high level. But a lot of teams, I see them paying for leads from whatever source and giving those out to the agents, and basically have no idea how well those agents are doing on the conversion. I know some CRMs offer some reports regarding how your lead conversion is, but they rarely offer a report that says, tell me exactly how the lead conversion is for Bob on YouTube leads, right? Tell me exactly how we're converting Google pay-per-click leads, right? So my favorite part about this prompt is how bad it is, okay? I'm not super familiar with the possible reports in follow-up boss, but I want to track our conversion on Google leads. Find a way, just find a way to pull up all the Google leads received by agent for the past year. Put it onto a new Google sheet called Google Lead Conversion. Then figure out how many closed and pendings each agent has from that lead source and calculate their conversion percentage. So I openly admitted I didn't even know where to get that information. Who knows? Maybe my CRM even already offers a report, and I just have any of you explore every possible report that your CRM is able to run, or any of you else like me, like overwhelmed by all the reports, and I don't even like, listen, this is what I want. Go find it for me and put it into a new sheet so that I can just look at
100%.
what I want, right? And that was the entire prompt. The only thing I added to this prompt was that I also wanted it to randomize the information on the leader on the conversion thing, so we're not showing real agents information. But I did verify that it did it accurately, and this is the result of what it created. Color coded it and I didn't even ask for it to color color code it. And it built this incredible sheet showing, okay, Alex Rivera has received 4 leads from Google over the past year, and she's closed one with a 25% conversion percentage, et cetera, down the board of all the agents on the team and how they are doing with lead conversion. If you're not tracking lead conversion, I can almost guarantee you have someone on your team who's taking a majority of the leads and they have the lowest conversion percentage, and it's costing you thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of
This is
thousands
why
of
you need the
dollars.
$20 a month for the Claude and Chrome, so you can quickly and easily be like, oh boy, I might want to take so and so off of these leads. They're not converting them at a high level.
So, so here's another thought with this. Like again, what if you scheduled it to give this to you at the beginning of every month? So now, and you could do this for yourself, by the way, if you are not auditing your ROI, right? Again, your closings to where you're spending money. If I'm spending money over here, how much money is it bringing me in? This can be set up on repeat. In this case, we were looking at a team, and I think it's fascinating. Casey Parker has received 18. We were looking just at Google. We weren't looking at all their sources, but only closed one. I actually know who the non-randomized person of this is, and they've already closed over 20 deals this year, just not from Google. So it's not that this is a bad agent. It's just that we probably shouldn't be putting Casey with a Google lead when Alex has only received 4 and already closed one, right? Like, and same thing with Jordan and Drew in this case, like they're at a 20% conversion rate where Riley Thompson is at 0. So it gives you really good insight, and then you can use this in a coaching environment with your clients, or sorry, with your agents on your team. But this is one that I'm so excited. My dear friend Derek Caldwell, Caldwell Group, Kentucky. He's an absolute genius, one of the smartest guys I know, and like one of the first people that I call when I need help. He shared this incredible CRM database health audit, and this is going to blow your mind. And he's given me permission to share this with you guys. So in the resources, we're going to give you a link to the AI Marketing Academy CRM Database Health Audit Report, courtesy of Derek Caldwell. And let me just show you what it did. And again, I've randomized this from one of my clients' database. And I'm going to take you through the sections, and we're going to talk about why you might want to audit your database and what you could find. So in section 1, it gave the overall health of the database. And the first thing it said is that, wow, you've got 9,725 contacts, and 83% of your database has had 0 activity in the last 90 days. What? That's a massive operational gap. If you can see that, Claude is not going to hold back. It's going to call you to the carpet. It's going to be a tough coach, and I appreciate that. So it broke down the health of the database. But then most importantly, in section 2, it said, hey, by the way, you've got some lost profit. And let's go ahead and look at this. You have 630 leads in an active stage that haven't been touched in 30 days. Say what? Like, come again? Now, I actually think that some of these agents are just not using the CRM because they are closing deals, but that's still an operational gap, right? Not using the CRM. And that makes a good point. Junk in, junk out, right? Like if you are not logging calls, keeping notes, using your CRM, Claude's not going to save you because it's not going to have anything to draw from. So it then broke it down. So here you can see the bar graph of the 630 leads by agent. Then it broke it down by agent again, and we've randomized the names here. But you met Harry Potter on Zillow 321 days ago and haven't done anything. Albus Dumbledore is in showing homes, and you haven't touched them for 47 days. Jamie Lee Curtis, like, come on, 1,636 days untouched. Clearly, this agent has an unorganized database, and I guarantee you deals are falling through the cracks. And these are just the leads in an active stage, right?
I think we need to clarify that this particular report that you're displaying, we're going to provide the full prompt because it's this one. This
Yes,
one's a complex. This is a copy and paste prompt.
yes, this is
It's a
an actual prompt.
complex. It's a complex workflow, and you need to run this one in Claude Cowork, not in Claude in Chrome. Can you clarify that piece? Because
Yeah,
I
this this is one that I would do in Cowork. You can do it just in regular Claude.ai, right? Like in the chat. But this is complex because it's got multiple layers and it performs better in Cowork. Someone did ask about Perplexity versus Cowork. We're not going to go deep into that today, just because we've got still several different blueprints that we want to show you. But this one I would do in Cowork and just let it go run and then come back and get it. In stage 4 or section 4, it identified a sleeping database. It said, hey, you've got like 18% of your database has been dormant for 90 days. We should actually reactivate or re-engage with these. And then it broke it down by lead source. So you can see in this particular instance, most of these sleeping leads are bottom of the funnel. Zillow, yeah, I mean, that's bottom of the funnel. And then it ended with the exact plan of what you should do, right? So step 1, you've got unassigned leads that need to be reassigned. Step 2, you need to triage these right here. These are commissions or at risk. And then step 3, this is my favorite. It says, set a team standard for follow-up. 82% of your database has zero activity. That is not acceptable. That's exactly what Claude wrote. It said, set a firm rule. No contact sits untouched for more than 30 days. If a lead has no activity, it must be called, emailed, requalified, whatever, right? Like, but this is now set up our quarter 2. We can now go in, give Claude some assignments, coach the agents, and get a better output from our CRM.
Okay, awesome. Now this next one. Okay, if you're already, first of all, if your CRM's already like really organized, you've got all your past clients perfectly, like all the birthdays, all the home anniversaries, all the everything you've got, then you can just tune out during this section because your CRM's dialed in. The second part is like I'm going to go pretty deep into helping you show how to build your own custom workflow. So I'm not showing you like exact screenshots here. I'm showing you how to build something that is customized to what you need. The problem, one of the challenges with Claude and Chrome, that little sidebar there, is that it doesn't have memory. So it's not like with ChatGPT where you can just open up a new chat and it remembers what you were talking about with it yesterday. So when you want to give it a complex workflow, it's one thing to ask it to go one time or on a schedule, run this one report, or on a schedule, go out and find my top 5 opportunities or any of those. But what if I wanted to build like a really complex multi-stepped thing where it's going to do this, and then depending on the results of this, it's going to go do this, and then depending on the results of that, it's going to go do this, kind of like a tree of logic. Okay. So step 1, find something that you want Claude to do that's relatively basic. Okay. In this instance, the one that I built for this test, I said, pull up all of my past clients in my CRM that have an address available, like their address is in the CRM. Okay. And again, I had my CRM open, but I did not have, here's all my past clients with addresses. I let it figure out how to run that filter itself. Then go into my tax records that's connected to my MLS, which I also provided for it, and said, type in the address that says they live at 123 Banana Street. So go put that into the tax records, and I want you to make sure that they still own that home. Okay, are they still the homeowners of that home? If they are still the homeowners of that home, check for their home anniversary date and make sure that we have their home anniversary date put in the CRM. And then. Well, yeah. So that was basically step 1. Go to the tax records, confirm they still own it, get their home anniversary date. Once it was done with that task, which it took it a while and it took a lot of tokens because I gave it a lame prompt. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how can I make it so that next time I want it to do this task, it can do it faster and it can use fewer credits? So this is so genius. What I think it's genius. Maybe you guys think I'm an idiot, but to me, I think this was genius. I told it after it was done, like looking up one client, checking the tax records, all that stuff. I said, I'd like you to write your own instructions document in my Google Drive. So you're going to create a new Google document, and I want Claude, I'm talking to you as if you're a person, Claude. I want you to write your own instruction on how to do that task, so that next time I want that task done, I'll open up that instructions document, and from the instructions document, I'll say go, and you'll know exactly what you're supposed to do based on that instruction document. Oh, I feel so much better. If Mike Rennick says that's genius, I'm taking
I
it
agree.
at the
Yeah, because
bank.
Mike is a genius.
Okay, and it wrote its own instruction document, and I even told it, make it as efficient as possible. I don't care if you have to write this thing in Morse code. It's not for me. It's for you next. So I don't care if it's all ones and zeros. Just write your own instructions document, and I'll know that this is Claude's instructions document on how to check the tax records for a client's address. Once I had that step done, I started adding more layers and telling it to continue to update the instructions document. So after I had the instructions document, I call it the brain doc. It's Claude's brain kind of. So after, go ahead and go to the next slide. So after I was done with that, I started adding layers. I said, well, why don't you also go check to see if I'm friends with them on Facebook? And if I am friends with them on Facebook, I want you to check for their birthday. And I want you to take their birthday and put it into my CRM. And I want you to take their Facebook profile and put a link to their Facebook profile in my CRM. If I'm not friends with them on Facebook, then I want you to add them to a document that says, you're not friends with this person on Facebook. You should go look into that. Now, by the way, I did try to get it to just go find their profile and send them a friend request. It really struggled with that. If there's 17 Bob Smiths, it's not going to be able to figure out which Bob Smith is your client. So in the end, I gave up on that layer. I'll have to, but at least I'll have a list at the end. I'll have a list of these 17 clients you're not friends with on Facebook. I think you should go see if you can find them, right? But if we are already friends, it's getting their birthdays and it's adding that to CRM, adding their Facebook profile. Then it's going and created a custom Google map where it's taking all my past clients and putting them onto a map. So when I want to do pop buys, I bam, just pull up my custom Google map and boom, there's all my people. Then it's going to my Christmas card list and confirming that all my address label documents are updated, right? And then every time I added a new layer, I told it to go update its instructions document. Now again, now that it's done, I can open up my instructions document and say, go do the next client. And from that client, it is checking their address, checking their Facebook, adding them to my address label, adding them to my custom Google map, and then giving me a report of these people don't own this home anymore. You fucked up. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, they used someone else and they sold that house because you dropped the ball. Okay. So I'm so sorry, you guys. But you dropped the ball on this particular client, and it's giving me a report saying these people you need to follow up with, these people you need to get their social media profiles, these people don't even own that home anymore, and I can continue adding layers. And by the way, it is getting. It's not an exact, hey, every client takes 3 minutes and 15 seconds because there's different layers of complexity. Sometimes it gets into the tax records and sees that the home is in the name of a trust and tries to look at the deed history and it's trying to figure out. So some clients it's getting through in about 5 minutes. Other clients it's getting through in about like 7, 8, 9 minutes. But the point is, even a real assistant would take 7 or 8 minutes to do that task. To go through and check all of those layers manually. So now I have a system built where I can have Claude do it for me.
And a lot of the comments came in like, oh my gosh, Twyla said like this, I needed this. Here's the thing is you guys are out selling real estate. Twyla she's amazing. She's in my marketplace and she's absolutely amazing. She's crushing it. So is it any surprise that maybe she's a little bit behind on her CRM hygiene? Who isn't? Like, let's be perfectly honest. Who isn't a little bit behind on their CRM hygiene? That being said, this one, if you want to know how we spent our weekend, it was testing this because I told you we didn't want to put something in front of you that didn't work. We got this to work. You will have to tweak it a little bit, but the point is that you step 5 brain document. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, sorry. The point is it created this report for me. It showed me, hey, here's your still confirmed homeowners. Here's your no longer homeowners. Here's your people that I couldn't verify. It was weird. There was something in tax records. Again, it was in a trust. Here's your social media findings. And then here is your, wasn't able to find, some manual review. You're not friends with them on Facebook. But it put all of these kind of reports into a blueprint, into a document for me so that I know, hey, I need to go check those. I mean, again, I keep thinking of more layers. I could probably get it to say for every client that needs a manual review, just assign a task in the CRM for me to do a manual review and check their Facebook profile rather than putting it into that document. We don't need more documents to check. In fact, I would tweak that now that I'm thinking about it. I would change it to say just assign for all the people that need
Put
manual
it
review,
as a
for all the
task.
people that I'm
Yeah.
not friends with on Facebook, and for all the just assign a task that says this person's not friends with you on Facebook. Go check it out.
Actually, this is going to blow your mind. We weren't even going to talk about this. So when I was testing this, I have all of my friends, like Dawn is on here. I was actually on a coaching call with Dawn Levy, Atlanta, Georgia. And I opened up Claude on my phone, right? So the app Claude on my phone. And I went in and there is something called dispatch. I clicked dispatch and I said, I need you to go into my CRM, find my contact, Dawn Levy, draft an email that says, Dawn, I need you to download Claude Cowork, like, and then assign a task. And because she's in my CRM, it went and did that. So you're out in the field and you can just tell Claude to put a task in your CRM for you to draft an email to do things. I did that live for her on our coaching call. So I apologize that we are going so fast. It's because we probably prepared too much content and we want to be mindful of it's Friday and you guys need to go help some people and sell some homes. So I'm going to show you guys a video of this idea that I had for social media monitoring. So again, I just explained to you guys, I have all my clients in, inside my CRM. I said, I want you to go into a sorted list of my coaching clients. You could do this with your closed clients, with your sphere of influence. I want you to go to the custom field, social media. Merrill just showed you how to get hygiene social media links. I want you to go into their social media, look at their last two posts and summarize it for me and give me two options on how I could respond. And a couple things. So you see Claude actually took over my computer and went into Instagram to look up Felicia. She's also an amazing client that's crushing it. And it clicked on the post, went through it. I did notice, like, as I've actually been running this play for a couple months now, where it will go in and do like 10 a week, and then I can like message them. It actually came to light on a couple of my clients that said, hey, this person hasn't posted since like October. And almost like a red flag. I was like, yeah, you know what? I probably should reach out to them and just see what's going on in terms of my closed clients because it wouldn't be appropriate. So let's see, now that you guys are actually seeing Claude in action and scrolling through social media, clicking on these things, here's what here's the prompt I gave it to you. I already showed you. You could replace with 5, with 10, or like do my A clients, do my B clients. Like you finesse this to get it to spy on, if you will, the people. Now, to be clear, I'm already friends with these people on social media, or it's a public account like Instagram, right? So I'm following them on Instagram and I've already have their social media link inside my CRM. You could do this from a spreadsheet as well. My first iteration of this was from a spreadsheet, but then I had Claude take the spreadsheet and put it into the CRM to save me some time. So here's what it said. We just saw Felicia Lewis. It said, here's 2 posts and here's an option on how you could respond. These listings are stunning, Felicia, especially that home. The backyard fire pit looks like a dream. How's the traffic been? So I've worked with a couple different iterations on how I want it to respond. I've said, give me a way I could DM, like give me a DM message, give me a comment in case I just want to go comment, or a text message, because in some cases it uncovered like someone had a death in the family and I didn't want to comment on that. I wanted to go and send that person a text message. And so it gives you some different ones, but I found that it actually gives me some great responses. So Giancarlo, Bend, Oregon with the lad group. And as funny thing is I actually had seen this video in my news feed and I love response A. It says, these videos are so well done, Giancarlo. They really capture who you are. That community connection piece is something buyers and sellers will really respond to. That's actually how I felt. So I thought it was really fun that just based on what it knows about me, how it drafted some of these responses. And again, how many of you have gone into, maybe I'm like, I would say, maybe you can call yourself out in the chat or not, but has any of you ever guilty of like, oh, I need to go see what Giancarlo, put on social media, and you go in and the next thing you're watching the Artemis launch, fun cat videos, and you wake up 30 minutes later, an hour later, and you just went into social media for one thing, but you lost all that time. That's why I put together this social media like workflow, and then to put it in front of you, like put these people on a schedule so that you can go into social media, have that forward questions, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, stay in front of them without getting sucked into the social media mind trap.
Now, I think we need to add a quick little thing here. Claude does not do well if you say, go find Bob on social media and see what he's been posting and then send it to me. But if you've got
Correct.
the links to their social media profile in the CRM and you say, hey, go into my CRM, click the link to pull up their social media profiles and then send me. So it doesn't do well with going and finding people on social media. But if you provided it with a list of links, whether that be through your CRM or through a spreadsheet, that has here's my top 30 people along with the links to their most active social media profiles, then it can do it.
So Alejandra asked, oh gosh, what the heck was that? Alejandra asked, could it respond to stories? Here's what I'll tell you. My first iteration of this was probably 6 months ago. I was doing it with Perplexity's Comet, which is their agentic web browser. And in terms of agentic web browsers, Claude and Chrome is by far the best. I've tested out Perplexity's Comet and ChatGPT's Atlas, and Claude blows those ones out of the water. My first one was I opened up. So I thought, what if I could just like open up Facebook or open up Instagram and tell Claude, hey, or sorry, at the time it was Comment, like, I just want you to scroll through my news feed and then like of my friends and family, just like tell me what I need to respond to and what's important. The problem with that first iteration of it is there's so much suggested content and so much advertisements. So it didn't do well. Ultimately, what I have found, and if you guys find something better, I would love for you to send it back to me because I'm open to improving any of this because again, this is field tested and this is how we got it to work. What I ultimately found was the best is give it their person's social media link and it will go through their posts. I don't know, I've never asked it to look at stories, so you could try that. But if you give it the social media link, it will perform beautifully. If you just have it go and try to find that person, it's going to get stuck. It's going to use a lot of tokens and it's just not very efficient. Okay, next steps. And then we'll have like 5 minutes for Q&A. So we didn't want you to waste an hour with us. We want you to pick one of these blueprints and implement it. Maybe it's just like five dormant leads, right? I think you should follow Merrill's advice and build a brain document because it's gonna mean a lot for you. We are launching because again we're so excited about this. We don't want you to come and not do anything. We're launching a Facebook group in collaboration with Jeremy Knight and Agent Tactics. So Take It and Run, which I have a podcast and an email newsletter where we're giving tips like this out every single week. I'm joining up with Agent Tactics for quarter 2 where we're going to do a Facebook group. I'll send you guys the link and we just want to do work together. So here's the only rule. Do not join us for the next 12 weeks in this Facebook group if all you want to do is complain about the market. Like, don't bother. This group is for people who want to take action. If you have questions, if you want to share successes, if you don't want to work in isolation, for the next 12 weeks, I'm opening myself up with Jeremy, and some of you guys are going to join us, and we're just going to talk and we're going to share what's working. And this is going to be a place where if in quarter 2 you want to take action, I want you to join us. And then, of course, none of this would be possible. Like, I would not know what I know now if I was not a member of the AI Marketing Academy through Jason Pantana. And he's given me a code that I can share with you guys. So if you're not already a member, you can join the AI Marketing Academy and he'll give you 30% off. I am part of the Academy. I watch all of the labs and lectures. I text Jason all the time. We're always going off ideas. I know many of you guys are already members of there, but again, it's not AI for the sake of AI. It's AI for marketing in your real estate business, but also workflows inside your real estate business. Okay, so if we're not connected on social, yeah, definitely connect with Meryl and I on social. If you're not already getting our newsletter, let's get the newsletter, get on the podcast, send us topics. We're open to all that. What else? Oh, Meryl, tell them about this.
Yeah, so we were so excited about what we were building in the CRM, but as we were doing that, Kristi and I started building like a lot of non-CRM related reports and automations and cool things with Claude. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I really want to show this to people, but it's not really CRM, and we've already got so much content." A few days in, we are like, we gotta plan a follow up. We got to plan another webinar where we're gonna start showing more automations. And who knows, maybe 3 weeks, AI is moving so fast, maybe 3 weeks from now, we'll be using, Google's new Gamma 4 or something like that. I don't know. But as of right now, it's all Claude is doing the best at performing these agentic tasks. I just to tease one, I built a report that it goes in and looks at all of my social media accounts, my Facebook, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my YouTube, and sends me a daily report on how all of my latest content is performing in like this gorgeous, beautiful daily email. I mean, there's just so many different things that we're doing with this, and it's just blowing our minds. So we want to share more. So we are going to have another event 3 weeks from today, April 24th, same time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So please get registered for that. So kind of action items. You're going to join the Facebook group if you're serious about collaborating and sharing and growing together and holding each other accountable. You're going to, and then hopefully you're going to get registered for this webinar. Most importantly, if I could convey, when we started with Be Curious, right? And all of this stuff started with us and be like, huh, I wonder if we could get it to do that, right? A lot of the examples that we showed you today aren't going to be an exact fit for what you need in your business. I just want you all to like open up Claude and be like, could you like open up that Claude in Chrome and start with something simple? Ask it to draft a response to an email. Ask it to look up a property for you. I got you. Ask it to run comps for you. Like try different things and start experimenting. This is not one of those things where I think that you can really get great at this by copying and pasting the prompts. I think it's one of those things that you have to, I call it poking the bear. You've got to just test it. Oh, well, that didn't work. Let me try it this way. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try it this way. And then all of a sudden you build something amazing and you're like, I can't believe I've lived my life this long without that.
The best one, as we end, the best one happened last night when I was building something through Cowork, and while it was building, I saw this thing in Cowork. It says ideas, and I was like, oh, what is this? And it said, do you want to uh, clean up your email? And I was like, oh, clean up my email? Why not? Let's clean up our email. And this was so crazy. It was like, personal note, two of your kids have missing assignments, and then it listed the kid's name and the missing assignment. And then on my to-do list, based on all of my emails, on my to-do list, it said text Red and Julia. And I was dying. I showed Meryl, I was like, is Claude going to help me stay on top of all of my kids' missing assignments? Wait, what? That just came out of being curious. So, okay, well, we're actually out of time, but I have a couple minutes. I don't know, Meryl, if you have to jump off. If
Yeah,
there are a
I can
couple
stay.
questions,
Yeah, and also someone asked for a link to the Facebook group. I just posted the link to that on there. But I'm available to stay for some additional questions if people have some additional questions. But if not, then we'll just wait till the next webinar. You can also ask your questions in the Facebook group. And again, I just posted the link to that in there. I don't know if the people who asked the questions are still on, but a few minutes ago I saw a question. I'm going to go ahead and address it. Someone had said, "Well, for the social media links in the CRM? What if there's not a field for it?" Right? So
mm,
like again, all CRMs are a little bit differently. You've got a couple of options on that. Like there might be a place for like a pinned note, for example. Like, so you could
yeah.
tell Claude, like, hey, I've put a link to their social media profiles in a pinned note that's at the top. That's where you're going to go look for it, right? If you can give it information about where it's going to be able to find the links, it will do a little bit better with that task. But also it wouldn't be a terrible idea to build like if your CRM really doesn't have I
Spreadsheet.
feel like most do have a place for a social media, but if it really doesn't have a link for that, the other thing is I build a spreadsheet. Here's all my clients with the links to their relevant social media platforms, and then it could use that.
So Michelle says, to instruct Claude to go through the MLS and the tax records, do I have to have all these tabs currently open for it to search through. Um, we've only tried it by opening up those tabs first to just to make sure that there's no login barriers. I'm currently in the process of creating a Claude skill to run comps that I would be able to dispatch from the field. So, running comps is that is a skill at the end of the day, right? Like how you run comps is going to follow a specific SOP. So depending on what you want it to do in the MLS, you're going to need to teach it. And we didn't cover that today, but you can teach Claude in Chrome. At the very bottom, before you hit send, it says teach. And if you do that, what it basically does is it records your voice and it records your screen. So you can actually train it how to do some of these things like in the tax records. What Merrill was asking it was to just look up the address. And so it didn't need to be taught. But the more complicated process that you're going to teach Claude, you're going to want to teach it through that little tool that it has.
Oh, also, if you tell it go to the tax records to look up this address without having your official like MLS linked tax record platform that's really easy to use, it's probably going to try to go to like the county assessor's website and try to
Correct.
look at it, which it might actually successfully find the information through there, but it's going to take it longer and it's going to, flounder. So it just, again, in sake of trying to preserve tokens, it's a little better if you give it the assets it's going to need. Hey, I've already got the tax records open in my browser. Go into that tab. Should we show about for those who are still here, would it be okay if I did a screen share real quick and just showed people how the tab grouping thing works?
Yeah, and Felicia, we probably will talk more about skills for sure on the next one. So Felicia asked if we could go into more skills. I'm going to share some skills like a listing appointment prep skill and some other ones.
Right. Okay. So when let's just, you know what, let's just open up my MLS. Okay. So if I wanted Claude to do something in my MLS, it would be best if I opened up Claude and my MLS open at the same time. And now notice how it like puts this orange bracket around it. Okay. Now, if I wanted it to also be able to use my Facebook, I can just drag it in there, and now all of these tabs are included in that group. And Claude does better with it when you group the tabs it's going to need together, right? And if it also needed the YouTube for some reason, right? And like all the different things it needs, I'm going to group them together in that tab, and then I'll come back to this conversation and I'll say, I've already given you my YouTube and my Facebook and my MLS. Those are the three websites you should need to go pull for the information that you're trying to run. So that's kind of, I've had the best results when I open up those tabs and group them together and say, these are the tabs you're going to need. They're already open in this tab group that you're working in.
So you use Claude online or the desktop app for this, Margaret? Both. So depending on what we're doing. So for instance, why don't you show them your social media, because that's actually built in Cowork, but it's Cowork
Well, if I show them my
desktop.
social media thing now, I'm going to run out of ideas. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
no,
just
what
kidding.
I was gonna, so Margaret, we are using both. And the desktop version is called Cowork. Many times we're deploying it in Cowork, and Cowork is going to call on, in fact, it has to be active to work the way that you want to. It's going to call on that Chrome extension. That's how it's going to go to your Facebook. That's how it's going to go to your MLS and do those things. So we're actually using both. Many times we deploy from Cowork when we're building a workflow. Oftentimes, though, it can just start inside your web browser, and then from there you can turn it into a task. So it's both.
Yeah, so with Cowork, and for those who aren't familiar, Claude in Chrome is that extension that lets it open up in the sidebar inside of your browser, but it can only do things inside of your browser. Okay, so if you want it to, let's just say, for example, you want it to download a document, it could click download. It will not be able to access that file later. It can't do things on your actual computer, and it's a little bit more restrictive versus Claude. Claude Cowork, it's almost a more powerful version of Claude. It's an actual application that you download and run on your computer. Now, by the way, if you're on a PC, you may have heard a few weeks ago, oh, sorry, that's only for Mac users. They do now have a Windows version of it, Claude Cowork, and it works a lot like Claude in Chrome, except that you open up this entire, it's like opening up Zoom, or opening up your messages, or opening up the App Store. It's a completely separate application. You open it, and then you have this little tab that says Cowork, and you give it a task in there, and now it can go into your browser. And for whatever reason, Cowork handles extremely complex tasks better than Claude in Chrome.
Well, because it deploys multiple agents, right? So for
Yeah,
instance, doing the CRM audit, when I looked at it, it was like, I'm going to deploy one agent to do this. I'm going to deploy another agent to do this. So
yeah.
okay, awesome. I'll make sure to jump in and look at the group. Our assistant Kelsey will help us with that as well. We'll send out the resources and the replay of this. Thank you guys for spending time with us on a Friday. Let us know how it goes. Report back, and let's make all of these blueprints even better than they are right now. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Friday. Oh, happy Easter.